Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I'm your host, DBJ, and uh, like everyone in the tabletop RPG community that's at all linked into the uh, interwebs and social media, it looks like, it's like a round three bell has rung in a boxing or MMA, and man, have we come out fighting? Have we come out punching? We had a little bit of a disruption in the last broadcast, so we're going to continue the discussion about maybe read off some statements that you may not have heard, or and of course, you guys are my co-hosts for this channel as we do like a demi-daily deep dive into the tabletop RPG community. So we'll talk about that. I will end with talking about my personal connection into these ground roots projects that are starting to take root already. Maybe some of these projects or ideas were basically chambered in the gun, if you will, and didn't take off yet. But man, it is crazy the number of things that are happening in the tabletop RPG community. But let me hit the intro music and we will get into it. So thank you very much for being here, and let us. All right, guys, let's get into it. One of the great things I think that has come out of the this turmoil in the tabletop RPG community is the unity. It's crazy. Hello there, J Dub. Great for you to join us. One I'm amazed and enlightened and just energized by how brilliant and how much power the community has, and pretty much how idiotic Hasbro is. Now, in my own headcanon, I separate the staff at WoTC from Hasbro because before this, before Hasbro turned their sights towards dismantling the very thing that drew their attention, the amount of money that's being promoted. I mean, being generated, the amount of money the revenue they brought in, the revenue being generated by independent third party publishers and other creators around the interwebs. It's they are literally being dismantled. They're dismantling the very thing. I'm sorry. I know I'm being scatterbrained here, but it just amazes me that they didn't understand that the power of the OGL isn't us taking money from them. It's the fact that without the greater RPG community, Dungeons and Dragons was not being promoted. If you just sit back and think, just think a little bit, in what places without our communal impact, where was Dungeons and Dragons being marketed? I mean, if you have just close your eyes and go, okay, where did I see TV commercials? No. Did I hear radio announcements? No. Did Dungeons and Dragons have their own commercials being played over top of other third party content creators, doing YouTube and Twitch videos? Probably not. Yeah, Mike even mentions it's something to see Pathfinder, Dungeons and Dragons, and OSR players drop the rivalry and unite. Take that, Watson. Yeah, they did. Did they not see this? Did they not? Okay, not only that, it would be one thing if we just went around and said we're gonna do we're gonna protest by signing petitions. And no offense to signing petitions, but it's armchair protesting, right? Like it's good, but is it that good? Because even from, and I don't know this for a fact, but listening to Roll for Combat, listening to Treant Monk and a bunch of others that have been doing these long 2, 3, 4 hour live streams about this subject, talking to lawyers and advertisers and things like that. Business people really don't pay attention to noise. They pay attention to money. Now, noise can affect the acquisition of money, yes, but in our day and age, boycotts kind of don't really work the way we would like them to work. And they said even internally, why Hasbro was just like, nah, it'll fade away. Don't worry about it, right? And man, Mike says Hasbro failed to realize that the one thing that was putting money in their pockets was the original OGL. Absolutely. If you take Critical Role, and they're what, $14 million plus. Take Matt Koval's MCDM, who did a $2 million Kickstarter. But if you start adding, let's say the community itself brought together between 15 and $20 million that did not go into the Dungeons and Dragons coffers, right? I think you would be hard pressed to not mathematically realize that $20 million over the last 7 years is probably about as much money as it would take to market Dungeons and Dragons the way it's being marketed today. Just the marketing, just the I don't know what role playing games are. Typity typity type. What is it? And the number of people, the Jenny D's, the How to Be a Great Game Masters, the Taking 20 and WASD 20 and Nerdarchy and so many others. The entire OSR community itself promoting Dungeons and Dragons, how to play it, what are great resources, people doing the live plays. Hey, here's Tyranny of Dragons. Here's Minds of Fandelver. Hey, take a look at you know Ravenloft. Here's what the game is like. Here's how we play it. Hey, why don't you join in? It's not for nerds anymore. It's like they just did not realize. Dead Man says there is a D&D movie coming out in 2023. Yep, Honor Amongst Thieves. Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Amongst Thieves. Yes, it is. And my nieces and nephews invited me to go along with them because I do this live stream, and they've seen me, and they're like, "Hey, let's go see the movie." And I couldn't I couldn't tell them. I was like, I kind of don't want to give them any money, so unfortunately, I'm gonna have to like eat crow on that one and be like, yeah, I'm gonna go see the movie. It's family, so whatever. Uh, so Jay Wright says this D&D golden goose of ours is only laying one solid gold egg per day. Let's slaughter it so that we can extract all the gold from inside of it. Yep, Cynthia Williams. Yeah. Just and listen. Okay, we've we've galvanized well past like signing petitions. We're talking laying down money and reputation and building projects. I've got a couple of projects here. The Cool Name Goes Here project that really started it. Paizo had to wait a little bit, but they're talking about the ORC that they want to release into third party hands, which is different than third party creators. Cobalt Press's Black Flag. I mean, and then a ton of what we would in our community consider huge names going like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do their stuff anymore. Now, it's unfortunate. It's terribly unfortunate that we know what the ugly side of fandom is like. I'm looking at you, Star Wars and Snyderverse, and I see that kind of creeping its head out now because people are so upset to just like, I want to kick and break something. I know violence and death threats against WoTC employees or and other bullshit like that. And I'm like, no. Because can you imagine I'm an old dude, I'm a guy of a certain age. I couldn't imagine being in my 20s, maybe early 30s, and going, wow, I've been writing for third party publishing all this time, and finally I get to get my dream job. So I'm gonna pack up all my crap, move out to Seattle, like get go to the Dungeons and Dragons, the Wizards of the Coast headquarters, and just be a small cog in a larger machine that's producing this material. And we know the opposite, the modus operandi of Wizards of the Coast is they really don't have a large group of full timers. They have a small group, and then they bring in basically contract workers. So even if you were just part of that and you're going, I picked up my whole life, moved here, I can't wait to start on any project they have just to put my name in the book. And then all of a sudden, your bosses, the WoTC bosses, put out some bullshit. It's some leaked bullshit thing comes out, and a lot of people were making, and I understand, we're saying, well, there's been no real official release from them. I mean, the 1.1 and the hint that there's going to be a 2.0 OGL. I mean, we really don't know what it is. I'm going, there isn't a billion-dollar company in the world that's going to sit back and let schlubs lie about what they're about. If this was a complete lie, they would have come out and put a cease and desist and shut those people up that were putting out lies. So now it may not be exactly what we thought it was, but I bet it's pretty close. Mike says, and Dungeon Dudes broke 1.2 mil while in their Drakkenheim Kickstarter. Yes, they did. It's like Hasbro thinks that other successful Kickstarters are somehow taking money from them. Truly out of touch. Exact. My contention. Hasbro thinks that every dollar that we generate that does not go in their pockets belongs to them. What we know, or at least from our point of view, we're looking at it like you would never have produced this. It's money being generated from something you would never produce. It's I liken it unto the origins of Netflix. I know some of you young people out there are like, Netflix has always been around in my life, but it wasn't. And Netflix was the place to go to watch and consume content other this is before streaming was a big thing. It was where other people, you couldn't find it, right? Netflix was the place to go where you couldn't find other things, from game shows to movies. It's a little bit of a dumping ground for not quite ready for theatrical release stuff, but it's the same thing. They really think this. Here's the other thing too that I truly believe in, that Hasbro believes that the OGL is a creation of theirs that's literally generating businesses that are competing with themselves. So it would be much like if you had a small business making, like a small bakery, but you gave out your recipes to other people, and the other people were making baking products that were better than yours and drawing attention from you. And that's how they think of it. Like, wait a minute, we have the formula, the rules of the game, and other people are using our formula, not Forgotten Realms, not Elminster, not Beholders, but the formula, the recipes. And the problem is that, like a recipe, you really can't copyright a recipe. The ingredients in a recipe have always been out there. There might be flourishes you could put in your own recipe different than others. If you ever see like the cooking shows like diners, drive-ins, and dives, or whatever. I'm doing it in wrong order, I'm pretty sure. But where Guy Fieri goes out and he goes to these different places, and they're just like, they talk to the cooks, and the cooks are like, well, we let it marinate for 14 hours. And he's like, oh, really? There's little flourishes in there, but you really can't copyright a recipe. And but they think that they can, and they have the money and lawyers to fight you on it, and that's my fear. So let's take a look at some of these. Let's take a look at some of the punching that we've seen, and I know many of you have either heard or already seen it, but you know, let's. let's go for this anyway. All right, let's go into let's go to Cobalt Press. Right. So, all righty there, Koboldies. And let's see, we're done. We don't need their audio at all. Oops. Let's put my face in the corner. Oh, just as a side note for you guys that are uh, that are worried about the streaming, we're getting the internet situation fixed. I'm going to upgrade to high speed, and we're going to get a technician out here today. So hopefully, fingers crossed, the streaming issue will be fixed. But whatever. All right, so I tried to get to Cobalt Press's open page and I couldn't do it. It would just it might be too busy. Maybe their servers just haven't had this much, even at this time of day. Maybe they're just getting tagged too much. But this is an article from Tribality, which is again geeky site. But anyway, it goes on to say Kobo Press made a statement earlier this week about plans for open gaming named Project Black Flag. While the announcement page isn't currently available for our readers, it is shown below. We are anxious to hear more. And yeah, I think the community, in a good way, is shutting some of these websites down temporarily just because of all the traffic. But anyway, they said to our fellow kobolds, Kobold Press has been and always will be committed to open gaming in the tabletop community. Our goal is to continue creating the best materials for players and game masters alike. Okay, a little positive note. This means Kobold Press will release its current Kickstarter projects as planned, including campaign builders, cities and towns, which I joined, already printed and on its way to backers this winter. I'm going to pause right there. And I know the community is demanding that a number of their favorite um, content creators, a number of their favorite content creators put out statements. But the problem is that there's legalities, there's financial issues that a lot of these companies, I'm talking Critical Role and Kobo Press and Pelgrane and Mongoose and Legendary Games and Cubicle 7 and Dimension 20 and all these people. There's financial and legal situations that some of them actually cannot even say a thing. I think Critical Role's kind of in that position where they may have made a deal or signed NDAs or whatever. So and mind you, it can be difficult to call up lawyers and have meetings where everyone has to, get a quorum and draw people together and what are we going to do, and if we make do we risk our livelihood by making the too quick of a decision. And so it's more than just like someone like me. I can say to Hasbro, F you, right? Like, go away, F you. No, I'm not giving you any more of my money. Here's my statement. They already pulled the gun. I don't need to stick around for them to pull the trigger, right? No matter how people are like, well, what if they draw it back? Yeah, that's not going to work. They're going to have to make promises way too um they're not only going to just have to draw back all the stuff that went out there, they're going to literally have to make concrete, irrevocable promises to not do it again. And Hasbro's not into that. So, anyway, Deadman says Netflix was founded August 29th, 1997, as a mail order video rental service, and it transitioned to a streaming service in 2007. I still remember all the DVDs mailing back and stuff. Yep. They were basically a competition for like Redbox in the beginning, and then it went on. Even Blockbuster and Walmart tried to get into the mail order stuff, and they just weren't able to do it. Michael says recipes mechanics require a patent, and that ship sailed long ago. Sure did. It's been in the public consciousness long enough that it's hard to corral that option. I agree. And there have been legal, what is it? The Legal Eagle put out a video about the rules of Monopoly, and like you can't you can't steal the name Monopoly. You really can't steal the board Monopoly, but the rules about like rolling dice and armor class and hit points and things of that nature. Like you can't stop someone from using it, but you can stop them from using the expression, and it's a little bit funky. Okay. Anyway, going back into a Cobalt Press statement. In particular, Deep Magic Volume 2 will remain fully compatible with the 5e rules. We are working with our VTT partners to maintain support for digital platforms. There's another complication about A, the from the beginning of a Kickstarter to the end of small publishers putting out books, it's like, do we put out a fifth edition book? it, it's not very easy to go back into like a 200, 300, 400 page book maybe and scrape all the rules out, or scrape out the SRD material, especially like for someone like me. I always rewrite SRD material. So does that make me immune to a lawsuit? I don't know. I mean, I prefer to put things in my own words anyway. So, like, how do I scrape out the SRD material when I've rewritten the rules for a magic missile or something? Like, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, is magic missile synonymous with Dungeons and Dragons, or should it be called something else? And that's an issue. Anyway, the last part of this statement is, as we look ahead, it becomes even more important for our actions to represent our values. While we wait to see what the future holds, we are moving forward with clear eyed work on a new core fantasy tabletop rule set, available, open, and subscription free for those who love it, codenamed Project Black Flag. All kobolds look forward to the continued evolution of tabletop gaming. We aim to play our part in making the game better for everyone. Rest assured, Cobalt Press intends to maintain a strong presence in the tabletop RPG community. We are not going anywhere. And I think one of the let me stop sharing this one. So I think one of the great, oops, sorry, one of the great things about this Project Black Flag, and I think we're going to end up having, there's some controversy with this, but I think one of the great things about Project Black Flag and other projects that are out there is that, and I contend that we needed this growing pain, but people, Dungeons and Dragons is literally like Kleenex. It's like Xerox. It's synonymous with role playing games, and sometimes people even use the two words interchangeably, RPGs and D&D, as if it means the same thing. And I think hitching our wagon to a singular point of failure was our own fault. I believe that other game systems, other genres of game systems, I think they should have been had a higher market share, so that Dungeons and Dragons is just one of a huge number of options. Unfortunately, they're like what, 80 to 90% of the market share, as opposed to like a GURPS, or I'm thinking of games that have been around a long time. A GURPS, uh, the call, the various Cthulhu uh, iterations, Fate, even though Fate is relatively new. The uh, Fantasy Flight game systems, the Cipher systems. What was the Fantasy Flight is the Genesis system. Cortex is out there, right? So I feel like we should have already been supporting those systems in the first place. And now I think there is a little bit of confusion between what Cobalt Press is doing and what Paizo is doing. So I'll read Paizo's um, statement in a minute, but Project Black Flag is the is them creating a core fantasy game that will be free for the public, and I'm sure they're going to want to make it continually free, subscription free, um, and it can be used as its own OGL, regardless of Cobalt Press. We don't have any details of what Project Black Flag is, but it's actually different than the ORC, the orc idea from Paizo. Deadman says there's a Serenity board game based off the show of the same name. It uses dice to help adjudicate the operation or movement of the various ships, but it's very much like Monopoly reskinned. Yes, and the, as mentioned by Legal Eagle, you can absolutely do that. Like you mentioned, Scrabble is different from Words with Friends, but is it the same? They did some flourishes on it, but it's basically the same because you can't copyright a process. You can only copyright an expression, and which means that like a recipe tells you how to make something, and so it's a process, but you can only copyright the expression of that thing, and it can be difficult to figure out which is which, right? But and as a matter of fact, even in the community, like a lot of people put the OGL at the back of their books and never needed to, and I'm sure there's a bunch of people that were like they did it out of, how do you explain this? A lot of people did it out of safety for themselves and others, product identity, and um, s- small pub. I want to say respect in a way, right? Like, sure, the RPG community, tabletop community, as small publishers, could put things out without the OGL, even though it might hit. It's like riding a rail. You're right on the. If you tilt to one side or the other, could it be perceived? And so, just to prevent the question, it's just like, no, we're just going to put the contract in the back, right? Yeah, Dead Man brings up, like the Cards Against Humanity and all its various imitation games. Oh, and they're sitting side by side in like big box stores, like here in the United States. We've got Walmart and we've got Target, and those they're sitting in there. Their competition is sitting right next to the Cards Against Humanity. Why? Because the expression of the Cards Against Humanity, the stuff written in it, is theirs. But the idea of using cards to have fun and have an excuse to drink wine or beer and have funny things that are put against each other, you can't copyright that. Now, bigger companies have been able to defend themselves against those kind of things, but yeah. All right, so let's get into. I accidentally closed it down. So let's get into Paizo's thing. We are done. I think maybe I should. I got to come up with a better way to do this. Sorry about the clickety clicks if you're an ASMR sensitive person. Okay, here we go. Paizo announced a system neutral open RPG license, and I think some people are taking this image. There's the classic paladin here. This open RPG um, symbol and the image, and thinking that they are going to make a version of Pathfinder open, and that's not exactly what they're doing. So, for the last several weeks, as rumors of Wizards of the Coast's new version of the open game license began circulating among publishers and on social media, gamers across the world have been asking what Paizo plans to do in light of concerns regarding Wizards of the Coast's rumored plan to deauthorize the existing OGL 1.0A. We have been awaiting further information, hoping that Wizards would realize that for more than 20 years, the OGL has been a mutually beneficial license. Yes, mutually beneficial license, which should not and cannot be revoked. While we continue to await an answer from Wizards, we strongly feel that Paizo can no longer delay making our own feelings about the importance of open gaming a part of the public discussion. We believe that any interpretation that the OGL 1.0 or 1.0A were intended to be revocable or able to be deauthorized is incorrect and with good reason. We were there. Yeah. Paizo owner Lisa Stevens and Paizo president Jim Butler were leaders on the Dungeons and Dragons team at Wizards at the time. Brian Lewis, co-founder of Azora Law, the intellectual property law firm that Paizo uses, was the attorney at Wizards who came up with the legal framework for the OGL itself. Paizo has also worked very closely on OGL related issues with Ryan Dancy, the visionary who conceived the OGL in the first place. I will say, and this is just an editorial comment, I will say that some people are upset that specific wording that is now being used to try to dismantle the OGL 1.0A wasn't included in it. And there's two streams of thought out there, although they haven't been proven. One is the legal wording of irrevocable, um, may not have existed 20 plus years ago in the legal framework language. And also, when legal documents are created, although we might want specific things in our heart, when it runs past the bean counters and the CEOs and the COOs and shareholders, that maybe some language was removed so that it's even if a even on the rare opportunity that a contract was made, that there's a way to break it if they needed to, right? And then you guys know how I put it. It doesn't matter whether they're right or wrong. They can outlast us with money and time. Um, they could shut someone down for 9 months while they do fact finding, and that could kill a lot of small publishers just for the act of Hasbro going, well, judge, we really need time to look into the situation. And a judge could go, yeah, so that you stop violating a law just in case you lose, you're gonna have to stop selling product, right? And that's what I fear. Paizo does not believe that the OGL 1.0A can be deauthorized ever. While we are prepared to argue that point in a court of law if need be, we don't want to have to do that, and we know that many of our fellow publishers are not in a position to do so. They understand. We have no interest whatsoever in Wizards' new OGL. Instead, we have a plan that we believe will irrevocably and unquestionably keep alive the spirit of the open game license. As Paizo evolved, the parts of the OGL that we ourselves value have changed. While we needed to quickly bring out Pathfinder First Edition to continue publishing our popular monthly adventures back in 2008, using Wizards language was important and expeditious. But in our non-RPG products, including our Pathfinder Tales, novels, the Pathfinder Adventure card game, and others, we shifted our focus away from the D&D tropes to lean harder into ideas from our own writers. But it goes on to say, we're gonna get down to this section right here. We believe, as we always have, that open gaming makes games better, improves profitability for all involved, and enriches the community of gamers who participate in this amazing hobby. And so we invite gamers from around the world to join us as we begin the next great chapter of open gaming with the release of a new open, perpetual, and irrevocable open RPG creative license, the ORC. And I think it needs to be said that in their words, the ORC is not a rule system. It's the idea of a irrevocable gaming license held by a third party that then we can use as publishers and creators, content creators, that's out of the hands of Paizo itself, that's irrevocable. So yeah. For our co-host here, Wayne says, little leery of Paizo's offer. History of embracing certain social political ideas. They have refused to address the many questions asking if they will gatekeep. There now, I did read an article about someone saying that it's it's basically black and white bias or right and wrong bias. So you guys know about like confirmation bias, and a lot of times we have a bias about certain things. And one very common bias, I don't know if it has a name for it, but I'm going to call it the black and white bias, or the right and wrong bias, which means that you take two parties. One party accuses or makes a statement about the other party being wrong, which automatically makes the accuser right, and that's not necessarily the case. Meaning that what Wayne B is bringing up is Paizo was under the gun and under a microscope really for working conditions and try not to have people unionize, because that still exists for a lot of writers and creators that are like full time. And working conditions meaning like um, how much work they have to put out, how many hours they have to work, working over weekends for low pay, and all that kind of stuff. Ownership of work, it's those kind of things. And the publishers themselves are businesses as well, and we don't really have a solid line in the comparison of giant mega corporation versus small pub, right? Like if for some reason myself started making, I don't know, 1,000 times as much, well actually more than that, probably 10,000 times as much off of RPGs than I do, I might be considered a mega corporation. Maybe it's more like 100,000 times. But anyway, but the point is that there's no solid line. It's a fuzzy line. So how big is Paizo in this, right? So that's what I feel like Wayne's bringing up. And yeah, he says, I admit to being biased. When I find someone who doesn't like cheesecake, I immediately ask them what planet they're from. I love myself some cheesecake. I yeah, I know. Like people that don't like cheesecake, or like I don't know what you call weirdos. They're not human. Anyway, John Wright says, besides all of the excitement, contemporary options on the market, including the many OSR clones, another cool option is to seek out all the great material from the first, second, third, and 3.5 editions. There's been a fire sale of a ton of stuff, and honestly, I don't blame people for this. There's a lot of people out there trying to scoop up a lot of fifth edition material that might not be, or may soon not be produced any longer, simply to avoid the possibility of legal action. I mean, if you've got there's a ton of people now whose Kickstarters are being fulfilled, almost done, fifth edition compatible, and they're just scratching their heads like, oh my God, like, is my book going to be released under the onus of a terribly written but legally enforced OGL that I don't have the money to fight? And then they're going to try to scrape revenue from me and stuff. And yes, I know Wizards of the Coast / Hasbro put out a statement talking about how what they're going to draw back and stuff. And I'm like, that's a little too late. You you literally put a gun on the table, right? There's no more, well, if I take it off the table and put it back in the holster, you should trust me again, right? No, no, that's not how it works. Anyway, to continue on a little bit about this, because it's not medium wordy. The new open RPG creative license will be built on system agnostic for independent game publishers under the legal guidance of Azora Law and Intellectual Property, a law firm that represents Paizo and several other game publishers. Paizo will pay for this legal work. We invite game publishers worldwide to join us in support. Please sign up. And there it is. Let's get rid of that. Please sign up by using this form, and you can click it right here. In addition, Paizo, Cobalt Press, Chaosium, Green Ronin, or Ronin, Legendary Games, Rogue Genius Games, and a growing list of publishers have already agreed to participate in the open RPG creative license. And in the coming days, we hope and expect to add substantially to this group. Now, if you notice right here, it says Paizo and Cobalt Press, which means that the Cobalt Press Black Flag game system is different than the Open RPG Creative License, or the ORC, the ORC. So two different things, and of course, down here, please support Pathfinder and Starfinder, and et cetera, et cetera. By visiting our local game store, subscribing to Pathfinder and Starfinder, or taking advantage of discount code Open Gaming during checkout for 25% off your purchase of the Core Rulebook Pocket Edition, or Pathfinder Beginner Box. Support Cobalt Press Green Ronin, Legendary Games, Roll for Combat, Rogue Genius Games, and other publishers working to preserve a prosperous future for open gaming that is both perpetual and irrevocable. We'll be there at your side. You can count on us and not go back on our word forever. So, there we go. We're going to talk about the cool name goes here in just a minute, but I want to get back to our co-hosts and the things they have to say. Alex C says, have you guys heard the latest leaked news on what WoTC Hasbro are planning to do with their D&D Beyond and VTT? I have not. And here's let me since Alex brought up the VTT and D&D Beyond, and of course you guys know that there was a hashtag, a movement for people to rescind their subscriptions to D&D Beyond, which meant that Hasbro saw how much money they were losing from subscriptions being broken. So if I can do a little bit of simple math here, let's get a calculator here, okay? So because I can't do this live, so I mean in my head. So math wise, I don't know what the subscription is, but every big business ever, always, today wants a subscription model. So what is a subscription model? Well, the subscription model basically means that they have a continuous 40,000 plus subs canceled so far. Okay, so let's take 40,000. 40,000, 1, 2, 3 more zeros. $40,000. Guys in the chat, on average, what is the subscription amount? Is it $5, $10? I'm going to go with $10, right? So we take 40,000 and we multiply that by $10. We come up with $400,000. Now, the reason why subscriptions are sweet is because these companies, in our public eye, the easiest subscriptions we can think of are streaming services. So if 40,000 people are canceled their subscriptions, they've just lost almost $500,000 per month, which means over 12 months, what is that? $6 million, right? So they just lost that. And if you've listened to Roll for Combat, he talks about, because he says that he's been like 30 years or something more into marketing, and talks about there's a cost to acquire, or cost of acquisition or something, which means that there's an amount of money it costs them to acquire us as a subscriber. And the amount of money it costs them through advertising and other methods to draw us back in is more than the money it costs that they earn per month. So let's say it's $150 to $200 per person to get us to subscribe. They want to keep us for at least a year or more to get that money back. So if it's 12 months, 120 American dollars to get us, they want to keep us for a year to get $10 out of our pocket each month, and it goes into their pockets. And the reason why subscription services work so well is because it is 40,000 subs cancel is just under 5 million per year. That's a lot of money. And listen, when you are a business that deals with art, and I feel like role-playing games are very artistic, art comes and goes. It fluctuates a lot with pop culture, like music, dance, movies, television, video games. They're an artistic form that just like flows. It does this sine wave thing, and it's a bit unpredictable. But subscribers are, each month, we know exactly how much money is going to go into our coffers. And even if that money is a little bit less than what they think they could get on the sine wave, as the sine wave moves, it's consistent, and that consistency allows them to borrow money. That consistency gets the stock price up very high because of the consistent amount of money they're bringing in. There's a lot more to it, which is why if you take, say, I don't know, $10 times how many subscribers does Netflix have? 200 million? It's something like that. I think it's 200 million, which turns out to be, let's see, that's what, $2 billion a month they bring in. I think Netflix brings in like it's on average like $2 billion a month. That's crazy, right? That's why they want subscription service, and that's why they want the subscription model. Now, going to D&D Beyond and the VTTs, Hasbro does not want us playing their game on other VTTs. They want us to sign up for their specific virtual tabletop. So we need to go over there. But here's the thing that Hasbro forgot to think about is that while they may not make as much money in their mindset off of books, printed books and PDFs and things of that nature, the vast majority of people writing for the largest companies, Dungeons and Dragons included, basically got their training from doing third-party materials in the first place. Writing for blogs, writing copy for people who make videos, writing small things for themselves on the DM's Guild, writing their own products and such. So where do they think they're going to hire new writers and artists that cut their teeth doing their own thing or working with third-party publishers to then hire them, because they would never know about their talent in the first place? So, but oh, wait a minute, Alex is right. They don't care. They just want us to sign up for a subscription service and a virtual tabletop. Yeah, Mike says, thinking of how games rise and fall, had WoTC pulled this in the 90s during the rise of White Wolf, imagine how quickly they would have shut their doors. Yeah. For those who don't know, the Dungeons and Dragons brand, owned by other companies, has been in this position before. TSR almost went bankrupt because they had spread themselves too thin. When fourth edition came out and they had the GSL, the game system license or something, they all the third party publishers basically were like, we're not signing that, and that's why there's no third party fourth edition material. So they made that mistake. That man says Netflix subscriber count as of 2022 is 223.09 million subscribers. Take that by an average of maybe 10 American dollars, 8 to 10, whatever, something like that per month. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. If they got $1 from each subscriber, that's at least $223 million they get a year. No, that would be a month. Multiply that times 12. So if they just got that as $1. So yeah. So let's see. Alex says, if at Wizards tried to squeeze more money from you with these D&D Beyond changes, how would you feel? $30 a month per player, deauthorized OGL 1.0A homebrew banned at base tiers. $15 a month average. Oh, yeah, you're talking a lot of money. I don't know. So let me see if I can understand, because I know there's only so many characters you can put in there, Alex. So you're saying if Wizards tries to squeeze more money from you, it changes, how would you feel? I don't know. I mean, here's the deal. I think, strangely enough, Hasbro played their hand, because they didn't need to try to deauthorize the 1.0A to come up with a new OGL. They could just come out with D&D Beyond, a VTT. They could do that. I'm sure the contracts they have with Foundry and Roll20 and other systems out there, they probably have time limits they could let those contracts just time themselves out, whether it's 5 years from now or 10 years from now or something. They could let that go out. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like there's two ways you can make money, and one is to make a better product than other people have, and therefore you raise the bar, or you shut the competition out, and they decide to try to shut the competition out. Alex has stripped down gameplay for for AI DMs. Yeah, DMs reportedly D&D Be Gone cost WoTC 40,000 subs. Keep it going. Yeah, yeah. Since this was posted on Twitter last night. Oh wow. Hey, I don't the AI DMs thing. I don't know how real that. Like, okay, do I believe it's possible that they're looking into that? Hell yeah, hell's yes. Do I believe it exists right now? I don't know. I don't know how real that is, but do I think they definitely look into it? Hell yeah. And then Alex Concisa says D&D Shorts confirmed it. Yep, yep, yep. Stripped down AI gameplay. Wow. Mike says, define irony. TSR made Unearthed Arcana, the book, to prop up a failing company. They they sure did. Yep, the QC was shoddy. Yeah, the quality control was shoddy at best, and books fell apart. Fast forward to WoTC buying the D&D IP as a way to test the market. Yeah, and even third party publishers are putting out books physically of better quality, which is very strange itself. Okay, so I've had this sitting up here. The cool name goes here, a community owned RPG system. As you guys know, some of you out there know, Mike, thank you very much, and others. I've been personally invited to be part of this, and here we go. Read this first. This is a whirlwind effort undertaken much sooner than planned as a result of recent announcements made about other systems. To that end, we're building this as we go. So you see a lot of change here over the next few weeks. If something doesn't make sense, seems like it's missing, or it's generally weird, never fear, we'll fix it up and make it awesome as we go along. Cool Name Goes Here, or CNGH, or Cool Name RPG, is a complete, free game system anyone can use to play, write, and publish fantasy role playing games. When you back the upcoming Kickstarter, you're not only going to get an amazing new RPG system to play with your friends, but you're helping to secure the independence of our hobby. Cool Name RPG will not only be addictively fun, it will also include a perpetual, irrevocable license that ensures some giant corporation won't pull the rug out from under your campaign, your creations, or your company by attempting to revoke or restrict your license in the future. This also means the gaming community owns the system, ensuring it will stick around, evolving and growing for as long as our hobby exists. And from what I understand, and listening to the demi-daily Facebook Live broadcast by Mark Tassin, that the Kickstarter money is going to fund a nonprofit that will hold the license for this game. So it won't be owned by him or them, like meaning like a group of people or something. It's going to be its own thing, and the license will be held in perpetuity with a nonprofit legal firm. The core CNG and design concepts. The Cool Name RPG is being designed with the following core concepts, ideals, and philosophies in mind. Easy to get started and easy to expand. Uh, I'm just going to read the titles off there. Better Together. Gaming is about community. No perfect system and license to build. And mechanics. Cool Name RPG is currently in development. The goal of this Kickstarter is to take it from a dream and set of ideals to a fully playable system available both online and in print. The goals of Cool Name RPG in terms of mechanics, however, are clear. Fun and familiar. When you play Cool Name RPG, the overall game experience is similar to playing one of the many iterations of Dungeons and Dragons, trademark. The goal is to build a unique game system, but if you are familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, Cool Name RPG will be easy to pick up and play. 5th edition friendly. The system we're building will allow any of the fantastic third-party 5th edition products out today to be easily converted to Cool Name RPG by the publisher or even the players. Cool Name RPG is being designed as a unique system and not a reskin of 5th edition, but the overall gaming experience is close enough to 5th edition that conversions will be easy. And lastly, easy to house rule. The core framework of Cool Name RPG will make it easy to add new rules, whether you're adding a cool house rule you always wanted to use, sharing a new rule with the community, or building a new product based on Cool Name RPG. The system will make it easy to create new, balanced rules variants, and rich expansions. And it goes on to with basic and advanced rules and Masterwork Edition, books, so on and so forth. And you can find this. So no, let me see if I could copy and put this in the thing. Let me stop sharing this. Sorry about this, guys. Just wanted to get this here and paste that in the chat. All right. Dr. Turd. This is about short-term growth. They'll destroy the brand to make a pile of money right now. Yeah, I'm with you there, Doc. And Alex says, WoTC didn't even make that many books. See, and that's Alex like that sounds like a lawsuit waiting to happen. From listening to the conversations, it sounds like the money being raised is not to be raised to make a profit. It's going to be used for law to basically to protect themselves from the lawsuits in the first place. Now, I don't know how, like, we don't know if Hasbro will even file a lawsuit against anyone. I think most of us are like, yeah, it's probably inevitable. I can see them filing a lawsuit either against a number of small groups and crushing them, or maybe one or two really big giant ones against a big company and sending a message to everyone else. All right, Mike, have a great one now. Yeah, I know it's kind of early. So, long story short, I know you guys around the entire interwebs, I'm sure today and going forward. I mean, technically, from the leaks, we've got almost a year to continue discussing this. There's a lot of people out there that haven't either put out a statement, or some people are upset that like Critical Role has basically made a non-statement statement and such. But I mean, while we think of them as just regular people hanging around, Critical Role, Dimension 20, who are some other streamers out there and product creators? I mean, we think of them, but they have, many of them have employees, they have contracts they've signed NDAs with a lot of those contracts. There are non-compete contracts in a lot of these things as well, meaning like if you break a contract, the non-compete clause might be in effect where you're unable to produce your own material or work with other companies that literally are competition from the people you signed with. There's a lot of that stuff. Like, for example, you might be on let's say there's a streaming channel and you're a member of them streaming live games. They could sign a contract and go, hey, guy or young lady, if you leave, you can't join, take your followers and your popularity to another, or create your own stream games for like 3 years or 2 years or something. That's always a possibility as well. Same thing with their own social media. A lot of people have gated social media, so they just can't type out and punch out whatever they want. But Hasbro really, like, for example, like Hasbro was like, oh well, we want to own the materials because we're afraid of like homophobic and hateful materials. And I'm going, the community kind of polices itself. There's a bunch of people that were shut down because of their funny antics within the RPG community. I'm looking at you out there, Adam Coble and Satine Phoenix, and what was the gentleman's name with Satine? And there were some other people out there too. The guys that wanted to reinvigorate TSR, the TSR brand. They got shut down pretty easily. So yeah, there's a bunch of I mean, we've done a pretty good job policing ourselves as well, without their help. I get having a legal standing for that, but lastly, I will say that let's let's not fuel our dopamine hits with hate on other people, and not just like virtue signaling and the people out there that are all pissed off about the new woke culture. Don't then rationalize how other people should be protesting or commenting or living the way that they live. An example would be that there are a ton of channels out there that are focused literally all around only one thing, and that's fifth edition. They stream fifth edition game books. Um, they do fifth edition builds. They talk about and promote and sell fifth edition materials like subclasses and spells and things of that nature. And that's pretty hyper specific. And it can be difficult to go to say, oh, I branded myself as the channel that does the strange, weird, and optimized fifth edition build, to divert over to Cipher System or something like that. I mean, let's not hate on those individuals as they try to navigate what they're going to do. You know, was it Bob the World Builder was just like, F it, I'm not doing fifth edition. But if you're D4 or you're Dungeon Dudes or you're Dungeon Craft and you've been doing lore, AJ Pickett used to do, loves, absolutely built his channel around the lore of Forgotten Realms and the lore of the various creatures in Dungeons and Dragons, and basically had to be like, yeah, no, but not everybody can do that. So let's have a soul. Let us not become lawful evil ourselves. That's all I ask. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. We will like these subjects, and maybe what I'll probably do is break up the show a little bit so that we can talk about this maybe towards the end, because I really like to get back into talking about games themselves. And I would like from you guys to come up with other alternate games. Like we can start to focus on, like, maybe we can talk about companies that have their own OGLs, and we could talk about their game systems and how to write and create for their OGLs. I feel like there's a lot of game companies out there that have material that could be rewritten for a number of different games, um, by resuscitating and making their products evergreen by promoting them and building them with a different rule set. So maybe we can start to tell some of our third party publishers to do that. Like if there's an adventure path or a module or a some kind of monster book or something, and have them make that, use maybe some of their same art or other things, and have them say, hey, listen, I like the Cipher System, but you built it for fifth edition. Maybe it would really be really cool for these other systems. So you could kind of let them go out there. And I would like to promote that as well, to promote the idea that, these companies can really start to, keep their products alive and well. And maybe that time, or what Mongoose is doing, or Free League, or Legendary Games, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then maybe what I'll do is I'll bring a couple of, I'll spotlight like 1 to 3 other games that maybe people should try out and think about, like Kids on Bikes, or SLA, Slay System, something like that, like other older games as well. I don't know. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. And everybody out there, have a great and wonderful day. Wait a minute. What's going on? I'm getting I'm getting a very strange. There we go. It didn't fail on me. Yay!